Invite me to a chat. Okay. Where is this chat? I can't find it. Yeah, it is. I am too. I am currently trying to send to everybody all these chats, but I cannot find. Oh, there it is. Let's use that one. I will send it to the boring server as well. I'm uh
Season 2, the beginning of a new year here in the UDL F1 League. As always, my name is Mr. Damage, and as always, I'm here with John. How are we doing today, John?
I am doing great. It's so good to be back here doing another season of UDL F1. I'm ready to see some great competition this year. All the drivers have seemed to really tighten up on their pace, and I think it's going to be some great battles this year.
I 100% agree with you. We have a lot of fast drivers here today. I was in a practice session before this, kind of scouting it out, seeing what guys were doing, and man, everybody was fast. A lot of drivers in the 121 second range. And to put this into perspective for you all, the pole position lap last season here in Australia was a 1:22.0. Most drivers here, at least 5 to 10 drivers in the practice session without the max fuel mixture, were in the 121s. That's how much faster and closer this grid has gotten here today. I'm ready to rock.
It's going to be great for competition. That being said, looking at these drivers, knowing the grid lineup from last year, it is very strange seeing some of these drivers in other cars, like Snipper Pig, our former UDL F1 Season 1 champion in the Ferrari this time around, along with his teammate Sinister Owl.
All right, so as always, I will follow around somebody for the very first lap of the qualifying session, and I will follow around Racer X in his new seat at Alfa Romeo as he comes into the very tricky turn 1-2 complex. A very fast chicane there, as now we go to the DRS zone and open it up on the run to turn 3, the very tight hairpin, the site of Fernando Alonso's sensational crash here in 2016, and that McLaren now sweeping through turn 4, very tough turn, and now turn 5, high commitment corner that one is. It's flat if you hit it perfectly. Now we're on the brakes here for another chicane to turn 6 and 7, the site of Pastor Maldonado's early exit in 2012, and now coming up towards the 9-10 chicane, the hardest chicane on the track, in my opinion. Very easy to lose the car on both of those curbs. Those curbs are killer. As now we come around the banana towards the next DRS detection zone and through turns 11 and 12, the best corners on this track as Racer X actually loses the back end through there. That is why that section is so hard. As now we're going through this DRS zone into turn 13, a very tough corner to brake for correctly, and now turn 14, a very fun corner, bring it out to that curbing, and then into the turn 15 penultimate corner hairpin, and then now to turn 16, the final corner, and back onto the DRS, down the main straight, and that is your lap. So Sniffer Pig already showing his pace here with a 120.9, a full second and some change ahead of Honos in P2.
It is very impressive to see the commitment these drivers are putting in at this track this time around. You can obviously tell last season it was very... people were definitely just getting started. They didn't really have that full commitment in most of these corners, but after a full season and coming back here, they are on it instantly. They were ready for this season, and they're going to start off strong.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. These guys have been practicing all off-season for this race, and it's really going to show here today, I believe. We already have two drivers faster than last season's pole time in the top two, and I know there's going to be a lot more drivers filling in that gap. We've got a lot of fast drivers here in this field. The strength of field is unbelievable compared to last season, as now we're following Sinister Owls. He comes around the final corner and sets a 121.7 to put himself into P2. Zeus in P4 for that Haas team. Him and Pecan moving from the Ferrari team to the Haas. Glen Coco in that nice, beautiful black and yellow livery Renault.
There's a spin from Get That Money and Run in the Red Bull.
Man, this is so weird. Dollar High goes up into P7 in that Toro Rosso, which will be rebranded AlphaTauri for 2020.
By the way, can I just say it is very good to see Impulse back in the driver's seat for this season after driving, I think, only 2 or 3 races last season.
Yeah, unfortunately, whenever we changed from Saturdays to Sundays, Impulse took the brunt end of that. We knew we were going to lose racers, but we knew we were going to gain more than we lost, and sadly, he was one of the racers that we did lose, but thankfully, he has the time to be here for these races now, and he is now in the Red Bull car with Get That Money and Run, last year's double championship winners with the drivers and constructors championships. And while we were talking about Impulse's return, Greco put in a beautiful lap time of a 121.440 to put himself into P2, slot himself between those two Ferraris. As now there are only 4 drivers left who have not set a time: Shawsome, Boknos, Pecan, and Kill the Birdman. Boknos, one of the only drivers to stay in the same car he was in at the end of last season in that Mercedes. He is paired with Greco Draybird. That is going to be a very tough duo, and we're going to have some serious battles in this Constructors' Championship this year.
Glen Coco got turned in just a little too early on that second chicane and cut a little bit.
I'm going to follow around Kill the Birdman for a little bit as he comes through the sector through turn 3 and 4. Super hard at that exit of turn 4 because of those sausage curbs there in that parking lot. If you touch those sausage curbs, you are going wide, and it will cost you quite a lot of time. So it's definitely very important for these drivers to try to stay away from those very deadly curbs. Let's see who else we have on a hot lap right now. We have Bokonos on a hot lap as well as Kill the Birdman. Greco is on an in lap at the moment, or a cooldown lap 1. Just started his first flying lap of the session in that Haas. And a Ferrari just came out of the pit lane of Sinister Owl. We have a full course caution, it looks like. There's a caution in Sector 3 for a driver of some sort, most likely on their out lap. As now Kill the Birdman is coming through the final sector now up towards turn 15, and then now through the and he pulls into the pit lane Shawson right behind him, starting his first flying lap. Bokonos coming through the penultimate corner now. Let's see what kind of lap time he can put down. It looks like it might be pretty good, as we have a racing point of Shawson, who spun at the final corner coming onto his first flying lap. So that's going to be a huge detriment to him.
The commitment these drivers are putting in on these laps now is like night and day from last season. Kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's really nice seeing these drivers practice so hard and get this much faster compared to last season. It's really nice seeing it. We have yet another yellow flag in sectors 1 and 2 as Pecan comes across the line to set a 121.888, put himself into P4. Now we have 5 drivers faster than last year's pole time. Just incredible how much faster all of these drivers are getting here compared to last year. It's quite amazing.
Okay, that was a very close call from Bokonos, going very slow with losing front wing elements.
Honos as well missed that chicane, and he is in the grass. So something happened there, I'm thinking, as all these drivers out of the way of the drivers on their hot laps, like Diltak here in the Alpha. Let's see who we have in the third sector now. Honos was off of the track. Dollarhide starting a lap, so we'll jump back over to Dilsak in that Alfa Romeo to see if he can improve on 93 to get himself a little bit higher in that top 10 as he comes across the line now, and he will set a 122.9, put himself into P8. So as a quick shout out here to last season's qualifying grid. Last year, P10.
Just quick update. The Ferraris are now sitting 1-2. Sinister Owl put in a 121.225, putting him in second place.
Super Pig is only 9,000ths of a second off of his first flying lap. Let's see if his Sector 3 will be better than his last Sector 3. Racerettes sets a time of 121.7 to put himself into P4. Let's see if Super Pig can improve. He does not. He does improve. There's a 120.789. Some good numbers there. So last season, P10 on the grid set a 124.043. All the way through P15, every driver to set a lap so far has beaten that time. That is how much better the strength of the field is here today.
That's incredible, especially considering a lot of these drivers are returning, so that just shows how much improvement they've had throughout that first UDL season.
You have Real Space Hero in a very unfamiliar color to me in that papaya orange and blue McLaren. He goes into the pit lane. It's going to be weird getting used to all these drivers in these different livery cars.
Yeah, it's very strange, especially with our front runners that we're used to seeing, Snipper Pig in that Red Bull and Pecan in the Ferrari, and Sinister Owl being the Renault. It's strange, all three of them being in different cars.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable the team we have here in this season. Is Kill the Birdman for Williams, goes up into P7. Good, strong showing, and yet another driver right on the cusp of last year's pole time. So he gets out of the way of Glenn Coco, who is on his next flying lap. I'm going to jump over to Greco in that Mercedes, and he backs off of his lap. It looks like he might have cut that chicane just a little bit, and he loses his lap. Now Zeus comes around to start his next flying lap, get that money and run, stopped on track to get out of the way of some drivers here.
Impulse moves up to P9 with a 122.498, getting him in that top 10.
This is unbelievable. So P5 last season was a 122.813. Through to P11 is faster than that. And I'm sure more drivers will improve.
Incredible.
It's great seeing this many drivers that are on the pace here. As Greco goes to start another lap, a nice cool down there, built up his ERS deployment once again, and that Mercedes will be flying around this track, trying to set the second 1 minute 20 of the session. The only driver to do so far is Sniffer Pig 007 in that Ferrari.
You know, it has to be said, you know, with the showing of just this qualifying session and then the first preseason race in WEC, it looks like the UDL is really starting to get in its stride and bring in that top tier talent. So I have a feeling we're only at the beginning. It's only going to be better.
Seuss is coming around the final corner on what looks like a cooldown lap as is off of the pace. There was somebody else behind him coming out in the final corner. It was Shawsome. Shawsome puts in his first lap of the session, and it's good enough for P3. So great pace there from the Racing Point driver to put the Pink Panther into P3 on the timesheets.
Very impressive.
As now Greco comes around the final corner with only 3.5 minutes left in this session. And let's see if he can go into the... Does not. He's a 121.041. Puts that Mercedes on the front row. And as soon as Shawsome got into the top three, he got pushed down to P4. And Greco once again is splitting the two Ferraris. We got Sinister Owl coming around to start his flying lap. Let's see who else we have. Racer X stopped on track to allow some drivers through. Hono's coming through the final sector now up towards the penultimate corner. Let's see if he will be improving on his lap or not. He does take the final corner in that papaya orange McLaren. And he will come across the line to set a 121.280. Put himself in a P4. Amazing how close these drivers are in this qualifying session. 1,000th of a second between P4 and P5. Dollar High puts in a 122.014, puts himself into P8, and the Haas of Zeus goes a 121.670 and goes into P6. This is incredible.
8 drivers in the 121s and 2 just outside the 121s. It's incredible.
This is an insanely high strength of field this season compared to last, and I'm very happy to
coming through the final corner right now.
Real Space Hero sets a 122.5. He goes up into P12. Dilsack does not improve on his time. He is around 2.5 tenths off, so Real Space Hero promotes himself up into P12. And Space last season was our assistant driver. He was always thereabouts in the points, but with this strength of field, Space is really going to have to put in just that little bit more to be able to get into that battle in the points championship like he was in last season.
Racer X coming to finish his flying lap now. Improves into 6th place with a 121.642.
See who else we have coming around the final corner. We have a couple of cars coming through the final few corners now. There's a Toro Rosso going into the pit lane, as well as the papaya orange McLaren going into the pit lane. Racer X has retired from the session. Let's see, Zeus is coming through the final sector, but he is going slowly. The McLaren of Greco or Bocanos, whichever one, is just chilling out there.
Real Space Hero is coming through the final corner now, and he dives into the pits.
There's a Williams backwards on the track. That is Drew Yu. He spun it. Greco finally makes it to the pit lane. Let's see, Pecan is a 10.5 up on his last time at the Sector 1 timing mark. See who else we have on a lap. Sinister Owl coming up towards the final corner, but he peels off into the pit lane, so his qualifying session will be over. Super Pig just started his final qualifying lap of the session. Let's see what else we have here. Pecan going into the third sector now as the time runs out. Pecan is 2.5 tenths up. If he continues at this pace, he will jump up 2 more spots on the grid. Bokonos has been disqualified from the session. That is pretty big. So Pecan coming around the final corner now. He will set a 121.465, puts himself into P6. Next to cross the line will be Get That Money and Run, I believe, as he peels into the pit lane. The Williams of Drew Yu will continue on.
Zeus is in the final sector right now, and he goes into the pit lane.
Let's see who else we have on track. Let's see. We have Glen Coco, Kill the Birdman, and Sniffer Pig on their flyers. Sniffer Pig coming into the penultimate corner now. Gets a little bit of grass in the braking zone. Let's see if he can improve on his time and make it that much farther out of reach for these drivers. Let's see what he can do here. He comes across the line and sets a 120.430. What a statement there from the Ferrari driver.
Sniffer Pig looks very confident in that Scuderia red Ferrari.
Kill the Birdman comes across the line. Glen Coco is going slowly, so that will be your qualifying session. Sniffer Pig with a 120.430, almost 2 seconds faster than last year's pole time. With Greco in a very strong P2 for that Mercedes, splitting the 2 Ferraris at the front of this field. Honos in P4 in that papaya orange McLaren, and Shawsome in P5. Pecan in P6 in his new seat at Haas. Racer X in P7 in the Alpha, and Zeus, the other Haas driver, in P9 will be Dollar Hyde in the Toro Rosso, and P10 Kill the Birdman in the Williams. And he went 0.03 of a second slower than last season's pole time, and he's in P10.
That is just incredible. The caliber of drivers and just the pace that they are setting is just night and day to last year. It is incredible.
That was an amazing qualifying session here. The first qualifying session of the new season. I mean, we couldn't have started off with a better qualifying session. That was great.
Yeah.
As now we will all leave the lobby for the lobby reset. And so, now that the qualifying session is over, I will go over all of the drivers in every team for this season. So the champion last season, Sniffer Pig, selected the Scarlet Red Ferrari, as we know, and he picked Sinister Owl as his teammate. A very strong pairing there in the Ferraris. Pecan finished second in the championship, and he selected the Haas team with Zeus, his teammate at the end of last year, will carry over into this year. Breezy, the third place finisher in the standings last season, selected Real Space Hero for the Alfa Romeo at first, but then he changed his pick and decided to drive with Racer X for next season. So then we will scroll down in this list. Honos picked Real Space Hero for the Papaya Orange McLaren team. Very strong lineup there, very consistent lineup in those two drivers. Bossman picked Shawsome as his teammate, and they are in the racing points. And Greco picked Bokonos for that Mercedes team. Get That Money and Run and Impulse, as we can see, our teammates in the Red Bulls for this season. Very nice to see Impulse back on the grid. Here, Lucas selected Glen Coco as his teammate for the Renault, but Lucas sadly did not make it here. We have a couple of drivers that didn't make it, 4 to be exact. We have 16 drivers for today's grid, I am pretty sure. And Glenn Coco was picked, so that gave Kill the Birdman the last pick in the Williams car, and he selected the man to myth, the legend, Drew Yu, 24.
And it was stated many times last season that Drew Yu is officially the greatest driver in the UDL.
Absolutely. So I am sending the messages out for an interview. That was an amazing qualifying session. Hello, Alex. How are you doing? We got Apex in the chat. We got our good friend Hefty Bag cheering on Drew Yu. Teammates from the end of last season in the Racing Point Pink Panthers. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Died in a helicopter crash today. The man, the myth, the legend himself.
Is that
Black
an actual
Mamba.
thing?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh, I did not know this.
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to the Black Mamba. Oh, and also congratulations to all of the winners in the 24 hours of Daytona that ended today at 1:40. The number 10 car, Ricky Taylor entry, won the overall race. And then we had in the LMP2 category, the Dragon Speed car coming out with the win. I was very happy to see the Dragon Speed car win that race. Everybody loves a little bit of WEC. And then for the second year running, BMW were the winners in the GTLM category.
I'm very excited for that.
And to round it all off in GTD, Lamborghini took the top 2 spots. As now we have Racer X in the party. Racer X, make sure your voice is sharing.
Hello, am I here?
Yeah, make sure your voice is sharing in party, and then go to your party settings and make sure, and then we'll be ready to rock.
All right.
All right.
Yep, it's allowed. Okay.
All right. So Racer X, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about your qualifying session today?
I'm gonna be honest. I think I was a little bit messy. It's a very tricky track when it comes to qualifying because you got a lot of straights that have very deep braking zones, especially turns 1 and 2. I kind of messed up a little bit on that, and turns 11 and 12. That's definitely gonna be the trickiest one. Qualifying wasn't the greatest, but I feel like I have the race pace. My goal is to hopefully be somewhere in the top 5 at least for today's race.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an insanely close field here today. I mean, I brought it up in the broadcast at the end of qualifying. The top 10 drivers are either faster or very close to last season's qualifying time.
Which that actually leads me into a question. How do you feel the field is this year compared to last season? From your perspective.
Stronger. I would say it's a lot stronger competition, that's for sure. I would say a lot of my competition, I would say going into this, Snipper Pig's obviously the biggest one. You know, he's the champion from last year in the UDL. Sinister Al, I mean, even though he had some bad luck last year, he's definitely got pace to be like, I think he's to be like at least at the top. I think he could at least win maybe a couple races. It's as long as the luck's on his side.
Especially with his new teammate helping him out with setups and.
Yeah, exactly. But also like Breezy, who unfortunately he's not here today because he's at work. But I feel with me and Breezy, we're definitely going to be like the contenders for the constructors because we're both like consistent. I think we can at least be in the top 5. If we can do that, I would say we could definitely do good in the constructors.
Yeah, I told John this earlier. I really think that the Constructors Championship this year is going to be so tight I mean, we have some very stacked teams for this season. We have Bocanos and Greco in the Mercedes. We have Snipper and Sinister in the Ferraris. We have is absolutely phenomenal, and we can't forget about the man, the myth, the legend, the best driver in the league, Drew U24.
Yes, I
Cannot
was
forget.
also.
He is
Yep.
self-proclaimed, so you know it's true.
Yep. Right, exactly. No, it's just a really strong field. It's just I'm really excited to be a part of this field too, along with all these competitors. It's just I think it's going to be really exciting for this year.
Yeah, I really feel like this is going to be definitely a better season than last year. I mean, all the races this year are going to be so exciting. In my opinion, this is definitely going to be way better.
If I may, I just, from commentary to racer, when we get to the round of Belgium, please do not have a massive crash in turn 1.
Actually, I think it was actually in Poulan, which is I believe
it was
7.
Well, no, there was actually one in Arouge and Radion, and then Puhan. So.
Yeah, no, I know. That was
Yep.
that was my bad too because like I remember in that race I had my tires at like 65, I want to say, at 65% wear on the softs.
Oh,
and
okay.
I was like, maybe I'll try to push it just to see how far I can go with these tires. And I was like, nope, that's a big mistake, and I rubbed the curb, and I took Bossman with me.
Yeah, that race last year was, I guess the best way to say it was just action packed. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else to say about it. Almost every race last year was really fun to watch. I mean, commentating from Monaco on throughout the season, both myself and John, we watched a lot of good races. I mean, it was very rare that we had a bad race to watch.
Well, you mentioned Monaco. I mean, even though I was only a part of the first race, like when the first try of Monaco, not the second, but like when I saw the footage of the second race when Sinister crashed into turn 1, oh my gosh, it made me laugh so hard.
We are really hoping for Sinister's sake that does not happen this season.
Yeah, I mean,
I do. I wish the best for him. Really, I do.
I think that everybody in the UDL league and everybody watching is rooting for Sinister to get his first career victory at some point here in this season. I mean, the guy was so unlucky last season. Every time he had strong pace and was there to win, something happened. And it was really sad to see because we all know that he has the pace. And so and we always said, I mean, me and John every week said that if Sinister could find that consistency, he would be a multi-time race winner and a championship contender. He just has to find that consistency.
Yeah,
if he can get there.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
If he can get there, man. I mean, he's in that Ferrari seat. It's going to be a very strong seat this season. It's going to be tough.
Oh yes, especially with him being with the champion, Snipper Pig. I mean, he had like 7 wins. I mean, most have anybody. I mean, I'm lucky to manage to even get 1. I mean, I know what you're gonna say. This is about my incident with Balkanos, but like, yeah, I mean, that obviously that's my fault for turning into him. It was a incident I do regret, but I mean, I did win the race nonetheless. But we did make up and apologize, and I apologized for that, and he was cool with me. But like it's kind of like what you said. It's like it's all about having consistency. When you're in when you're trying to be in the top, you got it's mostly about not just consistency, but about patience. That's what I find in these kind of races. Like I know in F1 we do a lot of you go into multiplayer sessions, you have 5-lap races or whatever, and see who can go fast and all that stuff in a sprint race. But it's just all about patience, and I think that's what I need to do too.
All right, well, the race lobby is starting up. Thank you for your time, Racer.
It's been really good talking to you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Good luck to you guys. Good luck to you guys in the Alpha Camp, and good luck to you, and hopefully we can see you on the podium here today.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That was Racer X.
I think that went really well for first interview of the season.
Absolutely. So, here comes the fun question, John. What is our podium for today?
You know, I don't want to be the guy to say it, but Snipper Pig coming off of a championship win and his dominating pace in qualifying, I think he's going to be in first. But as far as
this is where it gets hard.
As far as second and third, honestly, it could go to anybody in the top 10. Like I feel like everybody has the consistency. So any mistakes can basically ruin someone's race.
Yeah.
And they all have the pace to be there. If I had to guess, it would be someone in the top 5, but I see potential for anyone in the top 10 to get the second and third.
As you don't know, the top 10 drivers have to be on the soft compound tires that they qualified on, and every driver except for Glenn Coco and Drew Yu are on the soft compound tires. We also have Bossman and the Stig filling in for Lucas and Bossman making the race here for the Racing Point team. So we have a 19-man grid here. Nice to see this grid filled out, and it's gonna be fun. My podium, I mean, Snipper is an easy pick for the lead just from his dominance in qualifying. We know what his pace is like, very consistent. I feel like Greco and Sinister, and Honos and Shawsome and Pecan and Racer X and Zeus and Dollar, and you get the point.
Yeah.
Everybody really has a shot to win this race. If anybody makes a mistake at any point, I mean, time penalties for corner cutting are going to be huge. I mean, a 3-second time penalty with how close this field is could drop you 5 positions. I mean, if the race goes like qualifying did, we're going to have a very fun race.
See, that's why I just couldn't really, I couldn't really say my second and third because it really could be anyone.
I'm ready.
Oh,
Are you ready?
Very ready.
I am ready. Oh, my heart is pounding. My monster is cold. And I am ready for Season 2. Kick it off here in Melbourne. Round of the F1 League Championship here in United Drivers League. As the drivers are starting to fill their grid slots now. Snipper Pig once again on pole position. The Mercedes splitting the 2 Ferraris in the top 3. The McLaren of Honos P4 and Shawsome in P5 for the Racing Point team. As now we wait for the lights to go out. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5. And the lights are out. And away we go. We have a huge collision already in the back as there's a jump start for a couple of different drivers here. Snipper Pig gets off to a really good start. So does Greco and Sinister Owl. They go through here single file. The 2 Haas drivers, the Racing Point driver of Shawsome, and Shawsome has a very disappointing start to this GP. The Toro Rosso of Dollar Hide with a great move around the outside, and last year, and Shawsome is getting pushed around the circuit like a pinball. And there's now a huge crash in Shawsome. Oh my.
While all that was happening, Get That Money Run, Bossman, and Drew Yu were all disqualified.
Wow. I'm not sure what happened there. I know somebody jumped the start, and I think there was a collision before the start even happened.
I don't
know how that happened.
I did see a couple people backwards in turn 2.
So now we have Greco in the slipstream of Snipper Pig. He's going to be looking to the inside here at turn 3, but not quite close enough to get the move done. Snipper Pig holding on to it for now in that Ferrari. Dollar High gets a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Impulse, and Impulse drops down the leaderboards in that Red Bull.
They're
So
already
after
they're already pushing.
after the first lap, hold on. What's just happened?
What?
My order is very off. It's showing Shawsome in P1.
Shawsome is P5.
Okay, there we go. It fixed itself. Okay. So, after lap 1, we have Snipperpig in P1, Greco in P2, Sir Owl in P3, and Honos in P4, the exact same places as their grid positions. Pecan had a very good first lap and first corner, nevertheless, and got up into P5 with Bokonos in P6. A great start from him after starting all the way down in a lowly P17. Wonderful start for him to get all the way up into P6 by the end of the first lap. Glen Coco MP7 on those medium compound tires. Real Space Hero MP8, Dulsac P9, and the Stig. Another great start from the back of the field MP10. As now they are coming through the middle sector here once again. Snipperpig going defensive here into the penultimate corner. Greco looking to the outside, but not quite close enough to make any sort of move as now they come around the final corner. And once they cross the line, DRS will be enabled as it will be lap 3. Honos sets the fastest lap of the race, and we have a 4-car train here at the front of this field.
They are really pushing out of the gate.
I mean, these 4 drivers have already built a 5.5 second gap to Pecan in P5. That is insane. These drivers have some serious pace.
Whoa.
Here at the beginning of the session, as Pecan has left the session.
Sinister Owl ran off slightly, and then he also ran off there. He's down to 6th place. 7th, 8th, 9th. Oh, and there's massive contact.
There's been a call for a restart here. As I had an error in application there, so yeah, I'm sorry for that for my stream. But my application died.
That ends your stream, actually. But yeah.
No, my stream's still up. I had an error of application in F1.
No, it just it ended your stream because you're not on the game anymore.
No, we're good.
Nope, it's definitely off. I can assure you. I was just watching it.
What the? Alright, well, it looks like I'm starting the stream again. That was fun. So now I'm jumping back into the app here. And yeah, so there's been a call for a restart here after the disqualifications. And quite a few drivers are very angry about this restart. It's going to be very interesting.
Not sure if I can really blame them.
Yeah, I mean, some drivers had an amazing start there, and you got to avoid all the collisions to really, I mean, you got to avoid all the controversy, and all the drivers that were continuing on did just that. So, yeah. So I am now sending out the link to everybody here. It's always nice. Yeah, I'm very up in arms about this restart, but hey, hopefully I can get all my viewers back. I'm pretty sad that that died. Yeah, this is a very unpopular thing right now, which is not good. Um, yeah, so yeah, sorry about the issues here. Let's see, duplicate, and then go to this. This is my old stream. Yes, it is. I'm going to put the link in the comment section. Wow, after 43 minutes, that stream got 48 views. That's pretty nice.
Not bad. People are excited about the UDL Season 2. By the way, can you re-invite me back to that chat? I had left that.
Which one?
Where they are talking about the restart.
You're not in here?
No, I had left. The stewards are gonna have to talk about this a little later.
This is a very interesting turn of events here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so I'm sorry about all the confusion here. Also sorry that my stream died. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, I lost about 10 viewers there. That's very unfortunate. Hopefully they can get back into here. Okay, I'm gonna finish sending this to all the servers. Alright, so hopefully we can retain our entire grid. It'd be very, very sad if we don't. We do have a few drivers saying that they can't continue the format.
Okay. Sorry for this long intermission, guys.
Yeah, this is just very unfortunate. Hopefully we can get that started here soon. Oh. Alright, so we're going to have a quick commercial break here. I'm going to go ahead and give you our sponsor. There's not really a sponsor, but it is my favorite snack, and that is combos.
Combos are pretty great.
The best road stack ever created.
Not gonna lie, I love those pizza combos.
Wow, that's crazy you just said that, because I'm eating pizzeria baked pretzel combos right now.
Mm.
Just shove
Cheese
3 of them
or-
in my mouth.
The cheese or pepperoni?
This one's cheese. I ate the bag of pepperoni yesterday.
The pepperoni is the best.
My favorite ones are the jalapeno cheddar ones, but they're very hard to find. Alright. We're back in business, boys. Sorry about that issue. We got 3 or 4 laps in there. Hopefully we don't have any major issues here in this first lap with the front runners. If this restart messes with anything, it'll be very disappointing, but hopefully it does not. Hopefully we have just as good of a race at the front as we had before, and hopefully the guys in the back don't have the issues that they had. Apparently somebody's game glitched out and the lights went out early for them, and in turn they went and then noticed nobody else went, so then they stopped, and whenever they stopped, the cars are ghosted until the green light, until the lights go out. Then once the lights go out, the cars unghost themselves. And that is where the big collisions happened at the start. And 3 drivers were awarded drive-through penalties for jump starts and then immediately got disqualified. So very unfortunate there that the game glitched out like that. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Looking at the entry list here, I believe we have lost Bokonos. Bokonos said that he did not have time for the race anymore. Now we are going straight, and the formation lap is still on. So it looks like we're still having formation lap. Time to check and see if everybody is on the same tires they were on before. Very interesting. So a couple of drivers have changed their strategies. So Glenn Coco before was on the mediums, and now he's on the softs. And Impulse, Get That Money and Run, and Drew Yu are the 3 medium runners compared to the 2 that we had last time. So very interesting that a few drivers have changed their strategies here outside of the top 10. We'll see how that transpires here towards the end of the race. But all the drivers in the top 10, thankfully, are on the right compound of tires. So now, Snipper and Greco have absolutely bolted at the front of this field in this formation lap. They're getting some practice in, it looks like. They just want to get it over with as quick as possible, but they just got to be careful to not get there too early and let their tires cool off.
I'm not entirely sure they care. It does not seem like they're slowing down in the slightest.
Greco has started to slow down to let the rest of the pack catch up, but Snipper is absolutely bolted here. It's like Snipper thinks the race has already started. He's probably going nuts right now and complaining because his car got slowed down and taken over by an AI. There are 3 drivers on the grid here. The Stig is in the Mercedes now and not the Renault. And then we also have Drew Yu and Dilsack on the grid. Very interesting.
I have a question. So
Yes.
Since Sinister Owl is running the Ferrari in both F1 and WEC, does that mean he is a Ferrari factory driver now?
I believe so. I believe Sinister Owl is in fact now a Ferrari factory driver. As the last cars fill in the grid, the racing point of Bossman pulls into his stall, or box, grid slot. That's the right word. Now the lights are going on. 5 lights are on, and the lights are out. Very quick light section there. To start. And Greco with another good start. Sinister Owl, it looks like it'll be the same in the top 3 here.
The Stig is not moving.
Honos goes a little bit wide. Is now there. 3 abreast going into the... Oh my God, is now Shawsome hangs it around the outside of Honos, and now Pecan look up the inside of Honos in turn 4. There is a Toro Rosso that went wide in turn 4. He's now side by side with the Red Bull of Impulse going through the second chicane. It looks like he made the move, and Real Space Hero will get by Impulse as well. We'll jump back up to the front as Greco has gotten to the lead of this race. So already
Snipperpig
a little bit different now.
Snipperpig is not going to be happy about this, because if we're being honest, this really happened because of the restart. So
yeah. And now instead of a 4-car breakaway, we only have a 3-car breakaway as Shawsome is in P4, and we have a big train behind Shawsome. But the 3 cars out front have already broken the 1 second gap to Shawsome in P4. So after the first lap on this attempt, Greco is now the leader of the race. Snipperpig is in P2, and Sinister Owl in the second Ferrari is in P3. Shawsome closed the gap just a little bit in that final sector to the drivers in front of him. Sinister Owl will be suffering seriously from 30 air here, which will really help Shawsome catch up to the DRS zone of Sinister. If Shawsome gets into that DRS zone, we will have a 6-car train for the lead of this race. So all the drivers come into the second sector now. Looks like they're all single file. Real Space Hero has a little bit of a peek up the inside. Sinister Owl makes a mistake, and he is now outside of the 1 second window to Snipperpig ahead. So Sinister's going to really have to push to get back into that DRS window, or else those drivers in front of him are going to be on him. And he's going to have to really push to get away from Shawsome. Shawsome is in that 1 second DRS range to him. As Sinister does, in fact, get back the time that he lost. Space Hero gets past Dollar Hyde for P11. But I'm going to continue watching this battle at the front, as now we have a 6-car train for the lead of this race. And after lap 2, Greco comes across the line, and he will continue to be in P1 for Mercedes, as DRS will now be enabled. Honos with the fastest lap of the race so far in P5. So it really shows you how powerful Slipstream is. DRS will not be enabled for this straight because the DRS detection zone is at the end of the last lap. Wow.
See, this is the issue with some restarts. It tends to favor some people, but then really take other people's chances away.
I 100% agree, but you know, now that it's happened, it is what it is.
Yep.
And you know, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Shawsome got very lucky in that restart because he was a part of a huge crash there on lap 1 or 2. And so he got very lucky, and he is now into P4 again. So that benefited him a ton, as well as Greco, who's now in front. One of the bigger losers here is Pecan, who was in P5 in the previous attempt, and now he is all the way in P8. He had a very, very horrendous start there. He started in P6 ahead of Racer X and Zeus, and both Racer X and Zeus got past him here in this opening stages. Because now we have the double DRS zone here on the main straight, and then the following straight to the turn 3 hairpin. Let's see if Snipper will be able to get close enough with this DRS, but he might be saving fuel. A little bit of strategy here at the start of this race for him in this 5-car train at the front of the field.
The racing is still very close, even with the restart.
Shawsome struggling just a little bit to stay in that DRS zone of Sinister Owl. He's a little bit outside of that 1 second gap, which will put him under serious pressure to Honos behind. We're going to jump back up to Snipper Pig and Greco in the battle for the lead. Snipper is closing very fast, coming up to turns 10 and 11, or 11 and 12, excuse me, but not quite close enough to get it done. But now he will have DRS going up towards turn 13, but not quite long enough of a straight to be able to pull up alongside. So Greco will hold on to P1 for now.
We all know from last season that Snipper is a very conservative driver, so he's not going to really make that move unless he knows he can go for it.
As we say that, he is eating the diffuser up of Greco here. I mean, he's definitely going up the inside here. He looks up the inside going into turn 1, and he will get the move done. It looks like he goes a little bit wide there, gets a little bit of grass, and he will have DRS once again, but Greco will be in the slipstream and will be coming back at him here going into turn 3.
Greco did not open his DRS?
Close enough. Greco didn't have DRS. That's a double DRS zone, and so Snipper had it twice.
Oh, all right.
So Snipper takes over the lead, and now we are back at the same top 3 that we had before, with Snipper, Greco, and then Sinister Owl. Sawsome in the mix now, though, in this top 5 battle instead of the top 4. Zeus with a huge mistake here. He drops all the way down into P11, and he has wing damage. I believe he spun it in turn 5.
By the way, Dilsack is now coming out of the pit lane. I'm not sure why he was in there, but
he must have had some sort of a damaged front wing or something, as now we are in the DRS once again, and there's a car that spun. Honos is spun out of turn 12, going on to the DRS straight here. As now, we're going to jump back up to the front battle. That turns this 4-car battle into a 5-car battle into a 4-car battle here at the front of this field. Snipper Pig pulls a little bit of a gap here to Greco, about 6.5 tenths, but this double DRS straight will most certainly pull Greco back up towards Snipper Pig here. Snipper's going to have an almighty middle sector to be able to pull away from Greco enough to be able to get out of this DRS zone.
Sinister Owl is just holding behind, same with Shawsome, just to wait for that small mistake.
Yeah, I mean, Sinister and Shawsome right now are just basically, they're just riding around now, trying to stay in this DRS zone of Greco and Snipper Pig. And for Shawsome of Sinister, as long as they can stay in this lead battle and stay in this DRS, they'll have a shot at the end of this race to be able to win and be on the top step of this podium. As I say that, Sinister Owl did lose a little bit of time in that chicane to Greco. If he's not careful, he will be under attack from Shawsome here. He gets a very good exit out of that chicane. Turns 11 and 12, but they both have DRS, and Shawsome will not be able to get close enough. Greco got very close to Snipper Pig there in that DRS zone. The 3 DRS zones on this track can be very strong. And there's a little bit of contact there. Greco has pushed Snipper Pig wide, and Sinister Owl has jumped onto the occasion, and he will take the lead of this Australian GP. Goes around the outside of both Greco and Snipper Pig in the final corner. As now Snipper goes defensive, and Shawsome goes around the outside of Greco. So a huge mistake there from Greco. As now Greco is in 4th position after being in P2, and Sinister Owl is the huge beneficiary here. He's now in P1. As now Greco goes up the inside here once again of Shawsome, and will take that position back. So these drivers starting to scrap it out just a little bit here on lap 7 of this Australian GP here in Melbourne.
Very much a opportunistic move from Sinister Owl to take those positions.
Very, very good job. Very good driving there from Sinister Owl to see the gap open up and realize, hey, I've got a chance of being in the front. And now he is in the best position he has ever been in here in a UDL F1 League race. Let's see how much Snipper closes in this DRS zone. To Sinister Owl ahead in that Scarlet Red Ferrari. He closes around a 10th or so, but not very much. So Snipper might be just saving some fuel here behind his teammate and biding his time. He knows he's got ultimate pace over these drivers around him. And as the race goes on and it gets lower and lower fuel, Snipper Pig knows that he'll be able to go fast. So he might just be cruising around here right now and just going with the flow.
By the way, while that whole battle has been going on, Impulse and Get That Money Run and the Red Bulls have been slowly making their way through the field. They are now in 11th and 12th.
As one passes the car in front, the other one just follows right through.
Oh, we have a big spin from Kill the Birdman, and he collects the Real Space Hero.
Kill the Birdman with a 5-second severe collision penalty here as he is safely pulled off of the track. Very smart from him, and he got disqualified from the session for going the wrong direction. He did the right thing there by getting off of the racing line, but sadly for him, he was disqualified for it. So now we have 2 drivers disqualified from this session. Oh, man. My throat already hurts from only 8 laps in. Snipper Pig has closed the gap quite considerably here to Sinister. He's only 2.5 tenths back going into turn 13. Sinister is a little bit wide there out of turn 13. Let's see how they go through 14 here. All of them look very, very clean. Very calm, cool, and collected here. Greco going very deep into that hairpin, which will cost him time. He'll lose a couple of tenths to Snipper ahead and to Shawsome behind. Snipper Pig is in that DRS and slipstream of Sinister Owl going into turn 1, but he might just be able to get it done into turn 3. Sinister Owl with a very big oversteer moment there coming out of turn 2, and let's see if Snipper will be close enough. He will not be. So the Scarlet Red Ferraris will hold position here in first and second place. Very strong showing so far for that team.
I have no doubt in my mind that this season Sinister Owl will get that first career win.
I'm not going to say very much right now, but I mean, this battle is going to be intense between these 4 drivers for the rest of this race. Snipper Pig has a little bit of a peek on the right-hand side of Sinister Owl saying, hey, buddy, I'm here. He's just making sure that Sinister can see him in his mirrors, and Sinister pushing as hard as he can there out of turn 12. Snipper Pig with the DRS, not quite, only 1.5 tenths, and they are accordioning together. They look like a slinky right now. They are coming together, and there's only around 3 to 4 tenths gaps between all of these drivers now. They're getting very close in proximity to each other. Not quite sure.
I just got a report that Pecan has front wing damage.
Yes, he does, and Pecan will be
slowly
falling away. Racer X is the first driver to make a scheduled pit stop here out of P5 in the Alfa Romeo, so we'll see what that can do for him with the undercut. Not quite sure how long these tires will last here, but seeing as how Racer X has pit onto the mediums now, which I assume might be a 1-stop, but it could be a 2-stop race. I'm not really sure. But that's a very early pit stop there from Racer X to pit at the end of lap 8. Is now Sinister has a very bad run out of that second chicane. Snipper Pig is right on that rear diffuser, and Greco is right behind Snipper Pig, almost hitting him in the back once again. Very close between these 3 drivers here. We can't forget about the Pink Panther behind them all. Very close racing between all these drivers as they snake their way through turns 11 and 12. This is going to be very tight coming into turn 13 here. Greco looking to the outside of Snipper Pig, who has to go defensive here. And Snipper looks like he might hold on to it. Greco looking up the inside into turn 14. That is not an overtaking spot, and they do hold position there. Great defensive driving here from Snipper, who goes a little bit deep. Is now all the drivers except for Snipper dive into the pit lane. Greco with a very late decision to go into the pit lane. Is now going to be a battle between these pit crews of the Ferrari and the Mercedes. They both come out in order. Let's see how Shawsome's pit crew does. Let's see if he can get out in front of these 2 drivers. Where are they at? And okay, Shawsome comes out behind those 2 drivers, so they will hold the same positions they were in. And now Snipper Pig is going to have a really good in-lap here, or else all 3 of these drivers are going to be jumping him here, and he will end up in P4. Just get that money and run. is right there, right behind Greco. They went side by side through turn 1, and that has allowed Sinister to pull around a 1-second gap onto Greco. This might be pretty huge for Sinister. If he can pull a gap here, we know he's going to have the undercut on Sniffer Pig, and if he can just get out of that DRS of Greco here on this lap, he might be able to pull away. And Shawsome, a pretty big loser here. He's still stuck behind Get That Money and Run. He's losing time considerably here. Get That Money is on 10-lap old mediums, and now Shawsome goes up the inside of Get That Money and Run. A very argy-bargy pass there. He gets through, and Racer X is right behind Shawsome and Get That Money and Run here. So Racer X with that 1-lap undercut on all of these drivers. Glen Coco and Real Space Heroes side by side into turn 13.
Sniffer Big
Glen
does
Coco
go into
misses
the
it.
pit.
I'm sure all of these drivers will be pitting here. Pecan will stay out one more lap. Very interesting here from Pecan. He needs to go into the pits ASAP for his front wing damage. Now Sinister and Greco are already coming around the final corner. Glen Coco hit the end of the pit wall. So now let's see where Snipper is. Snipper is exiting the pits now, and Greco and Sinister have already passed him. So Snipper lost quite a bit of time there. To see if he'll get out in front of Sawsome, he will. So Snipper will fall down into a net P3 here. Greco back up into P2, and he's only 3.5 tenths behind Sinister Owl. So Sinister's going to have to push really hard here to try to get out of this DRS zone, and you can tell he is pushing hard. He is really trying here. Now they come into the turns of 6 and 7. Now through the banana and into 8 and 9. No, 9 and 10, sorry. Banana's a corner. This one is not, apparently. Wow.
The best thing Sinister Owl can do right now is just keep a clear head. And, you know, just don't make those mistakes. Keep your pace up.
Yeah, and as you say that, he runs just a little bit wide there coming out of turn 12, but it didn't seem to cost him very much time. Greco gains around 2 tenths on him in the DRS zone. But this is where Greco is going to pull so much time on him. It's this double DRS zone between the pit straight and the following straight after turns 1 and 2. This is where Greco is going to pull a ton of time on him here, as Pecan is now in the pit lane to get, I assume, medium compound tires and a front wing change. He will be. So Sniffer Pig is in P3, and he'll be pushing really hard to get up to Greco and Sinister ahead.
Zeus retired.
Yes, Zeus is retired from the session, so one of the two Haas drivers has taken a huge hit here, and Pecan has dropped all the way down to P9 here after his pit stop, and he's still in the pits, and he might drop down to P10. Real Space Hero right behind him on hot tires here. Let's see if he can get by going into turn 3. No DRS, of course, so no overtake. Greco still around half a second behind Sinister Owl and closing just a little bit. He got a better run out of that chicane. Sinister Owl very vulnerable in that chicane. Turns 9 and 10 as now they come through 11 and 12. The very fast chicane. Greco lagging just a little bit. Hopefully he does not disconnect from the session. We know he had a big problem with that last season. He pulls up to 3 tenths behind Sinister Owl going into turn 13, but misses his braking point slightly, goes a little bit wide. Loses just a little bit of time. Gonna have to keep an eye on that gap to P3, Sniffer Pig, see if that gap closes or not from him to Greco.
From what I've seen, it has closed about 3 tenths. 2 to 3
Get
tenths.
That Money and Run and Impulse have had a collision between the two Red Bull drivers, and Get That Money and Run has come out worse. They both have came out pretty bad here. They both have front wing damage. And Get That Money and Run gets a 5-second time penalty for causing the severe incident. That's going to be a very interesting debrief between those two Red Bull drivers after this race.
Sniffer Pig is definitely closing the gap. He's down to 2.2 seconds.
Can't help but feel like this dirty air is really hurting Greco. And Sniffer's just in clean air right now. And he's going to be able to catch up quite significantly. I wouldn't be surprised if he's within DRS of Greco here within the next 5 laps.
That would not surprise me in the slightest.
Snipper Pig, I'm sure, is setting a very ballistic lap time here. This lap, he has caught up quite significantly, almost 5 to 6 tenths. But then in the DRS zones, loses so much time. Greco, who has that DRS on him, on Sinister Owl in P1. As we have now gone through the halfway point of the race, coming up to lap 15 of this 29-lap race here in Melbourne. Drew Yu gets overtaken by Peak on 4P6. Drew Yu on 13-lap old medium compound tires. Jump
Snipper
back
Pig
up to this battle for the lead. Snipper is absolutely flying, by the way.
Snipper Pig has gained.
And
Oh my
Greco
God.
and Sinister have made contact, and Snipper Pig has jumped out into the lead. Greco falls into P2. Shawson gets into P3, and poor Sinister Owl went off into the gravel trap there. Greco tried to go up the inside and made contact with the back of the Ferrari. And sadly, the Ferrari of Sinister Owl got the brunt end of that collision.
Greco
and he has
driving
fallen back.
very aggressively today.
And that is 2 incidents already from Greco that will be sent in to the stewards. And stewards have a busy day here. That's for sure. As now he's right on the back of Snipper Pig after that collision. Snipper Pig goes defensive. Greco still sticks it up inside here, and he missed the corner and shoved the Ferrari off of the track here. So Greco driving very aggressively here, and Shawson almost able to overtake the Ferrari as he regains himself there going into turn 14. Some very aggressive driving here from Greco, and you really have to feel for Sinister Owl. I mean, that was his race win there, in my opinion.
Yes,
and
it
it
was.
is just completely fallen away from him at no fault of his own. So very disappointing there for Sinister Owl. As soon as I saw that Ferrari backwards, my heart sank. As now the 3 drivers in the front of this field are nose to tail. Snipper Pig has 1 lap fresher tires. And towards the end of this race, that's really going to matter quite a lot. He's right on the back of Greco, and he's going to want to get redemption for his teammate Sinister. He knows.
Not only
Snipper
for
Pig
that,
knows.
he's also being pushed off the same lap.
Oh, yeah. Snipper wants to get by Greco very badly here. He wants this win for Ferrari to get redemption for Sinister and for himself. I'm telling you right now, the only place that Mercedes is popular in is Germany, and it's definitely not popular in Italy right now. Wow. This has been very interesting. Sinister Owl, if he keeps a clean head here, I don't think he has any wing damage. If he keeps his head clean and these drivers start battling at the front of the field, he might be able to catch back up. I know he has the pace to pull back away from Racer X in P5, so he should be able to have at least P4 locked. But he gained around half a second here this lap on Shawson in P3, so maybe Sinister can have a drive like... maybe Sinister can have a final stint like Honos had last time out in Abu Dhabi.
That would be the best possible scenario for Sinister Owl.
And I mean, we know Sinister has the pace. Sinister's pissed off, so he's going to be driving very fast. We just got to hope that he doesn't make any more mistakes here and he keeps it clean. Very heartbreaking there for Sinister.
That being said, Snipper Pig right on the diffuser of Greco. Looking
He will
for
have the
redemption.
DRS here. Going into turn 13, and you know, we all know that Snipper is very patient, but he might not be so patient now. He's got a very long fuse, but once the fuse is lit, he turns into a different man behind the wheel. And he is right on the diffuser of Greco coming out of the final corner. He will have the double DRS here, and he might just get this move done either now into turn 1 or into turn 3. He looks to the outside. Greco goes defensive, as they go side by side through turn 1, and Greco once again pushes him off the track, and Shawsome will take over P2. We'll have a very good run on Greco. He might even jump up into P1, not quite close enough to get there. So Greco once again with a very interesting defensive driving maneuver there.
It should be said, Sinister Owl now down to 4.7 seconds.
4.7 seconds to the lead.
From
3.85 seconds and closing 3.7 seconds to Snipper ahead. So this is going to be very close. Does anybody out front have wing damage? This is something that is very important, because if the driver of, say, Greco has wing damage, that'll severely hold up the rest of these drivers, but it looks like none of them have wing damage, as now Shawsome will have the DRS on Greco going into turn 13. Let's see if he's close enough. Not quite. He's going to stay right behind him and try to use that DRS zone on the pit straight or from turn 2 to turn 3 to get past the Mercedes. He misses his braking point just a little bit there and loses a little bit of time to Greco ahead. Snipper gets a very good run out of the final corner, and Snipper Pig might just be looking up the inside here going into turn 1. He's almost there. He will have a little bit of a peak, but not quite close enough. Snipper gets a very good run out of turn 2.
Snipper actually backed out of it. He did have the run.
But now he is going up into turn 3. He will go up the inside, and Snipper Pig retakes P2 here in this Australian GP, and look at that Ferrari behind in P4. You can see him in the background. He is closing up to this group of 3 cars in the front. With only 10 laps left here, I think Sinister can catch back up to this group. Especially if they keep battling like they are.
Yes.
I mean, one more little bit of contact here, 2 cars will go off the track or something and slow everybody down. Sinister's there. And the gaps have widened out slightly here through the middle sector. The Snipper will be in that DRS zone. Greco almost pulling a 1-second gap to Snipper Pig behind. Snipper's really going to be pushing here, trying to get close enough to get back onto the diffuser of Greco. We know that the pace is very close between all these drivers, as Hono sets the fastest lap at the race with a 124.5 for McLaren. Didn't have to gain a few positions to get that extra point, though. But Snipper Pig, if he wants to get back into the lead of this race, he's going to have to bolt. And Sinister, only 2.8 seconds off of Shawsome. He is closing fast.
Oh, big dive from Snipper Pig to get it right on the diffuser of Greco.
Snipper is hunting. And Greco, in this situation, is Bambi. Snipper is coming. This man is on a mission here in this Ferrari. I mean, he gained so much time there. That Ferrari is so fast.
Sinister Owl down to 3.6 seconds.
Sinister is closing fast. These Ferraris are very quick. I will not be surprised at all if Sinister doesn't catch up to this group and have a shot of at least being on the podium, if not getting to the top step. Especially as Snipper closes to Greco. Snipper only 3.5 tenths behind. He'll lose a little bit here through this right-hander of turn 14 because of the dirty air. Honos with another fastest lap. And Snipper with a little bit of contact there onto Greco's rear diffuser. Thankfully, no damage to either car. Greco goes a little bit wide there out of the final corner.
Snipper is not having any of it.
Snipper goes trying to go around the outside once again into turn 1. We already saw this went one time. Let's see if it goes the same way again. It does. Greco pushes him off the track once again, and Snipper is now going to most likely be overtaken by Shawsome going into turn 3. Shawsome with a little bit of a lockup, and Snipper trying to hold it around the outside. He does. Now he has inside for turn 4. Great defensive driving there from Snipper Pig to hold on to P2.
Sinister Owl taking advantage.
And Sinister is right there. Sinister is there. Snipper Pig outside of the DRS window. Shawsome needs to use his brain here to figure out that if he wants a chance of winning this race, he does not need to battle Snipper Pig. Dilsack just pit off of the medium compound tires after 15 laps. So these drivers are going to be on very old tires here towards the end of this race if they continue on a one-stop.
In all honesty,
go for a two-stop.
It's kind of like Greco's got to be very careful here because he could also lose this win due to a post-race time penalty.
Exactly. And like I said before the race, a 3-second time penalty could be huge for any driver. I mean, 3 seconds is all he needs to be in P4.
Yes.
So this is a very close battle here. Sinister Owl is now right there, almost in that DRS zone. He wasn't quite a second behind Shawsome quick enough to get that DRS, but he is there. Sipper Pig almost in that DRS zone of Greco. You know he's using all of his ERS deployment now, trying to catch back up to Greco. He will be pushing as hard as he can to catch up to that Mercedes.
These Ferraris already have a rival for the season.
Sipper Pig only a 10th off of the fastest lap of the GP so far in the first sector. He has gained a few tenths here, but he has a very, very mediocre run there out of that chicane. And let's see if he can get into the DRS zone of Greco here through the chicane. It'll be very close. I believe the detection point is before the chicane, so he will not have DRS, and Shawsome will. Sinister is 7 tenths behind Shawsome and closing. Sinister Owl with 7 laps left in this race is back in it in this 4-car battle. Sniffer Pig's going to have to push really hard here to catch back up. He drives really deep into the hairpin. He is very good on the brakes there. He gained 2 tenths on Greco alone in that corner. And he did not quite get to DRS, but he's now in that DRS zone. The only driver with DRS, the only 2 drivers with DRS here are Shawsome and Sinister, so it's going to accordion back. I believe all these drivers are going to be right there on each other's diffusers here very soon. Snipper is absolutely flying. Within the last lap, from turn 4 last lap, he was 1.1 seconds back. Now he is only 6 tenths behind. He gained a full half a second on the leader in the last lap. And he is absolutely
These
flying.
Ferraris are on a mission right now.
Both of these drivers are absolutely pissed off right now. They are Romain Grosjeaning like crazy, saying as many things as they can come up with in English right now. And Snipper only 2.5 tenths behind Greco as they turn into turns 11 and 12 on the exit. Greco gets a little bit better of an exit because of the dirty air, but Snipper Pig is in that DRS zone once again, but not quite close enough. Only 2.5 tenths back from Greco in P1, and Shawsome a half a second behind them, and Sinister Owl 7 tenths behind Shawsome.
He will have that incredible double DRS zone.
Snipper with a little bit of a bobble there through the hairpin, and Sinister goes very wide there out of the final corner. Will have a bad run, but he will still continue with this double DRS here. These drivers are very close here for P1. Snipper might be able to go for it here going into turn 3 like he did on Shawsome. Let's see if he can do it. He is close enough. He has a little bit of a look, but not quite close enough to go for the dive there. But Greco with a very poor line there. He had to go defensive and go tight. And Greco with a little bit of lag, and that Snipper had to back out of it slightly because he thought he was going to hit him. Real Space Hero has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings for extending. Shawsome now right on the rear diffuser of Snipper Pig. Snipper Pig right on the rear diffuser of Greco. Sinister Owl right in the mix of this battle once again. This top 4 battle is insane.
Incredible.
Snipper Pig.
Snipper just needs to get a really good exit out of the chicane.
Snipper gets a good exit here, but Greco once again with a better exit coming out of that chicane. But Snipper only 2 tenths back. If he can do what he's been doing in the hairpin every single lap and get right on that diffuser of Greco, he'll have a very good chance either going into turn 1 or turn 3. Look at how much time he gains in that braking zone alone.
He's incredible on the brakes.
Now he gets a very good run out of the final corner. He ducks into that slipstream of Greco. Greco goes defensive. Super Big once again trying to go around the outside of turn 1. And once again, Greco pushes him wide. Unbelievable here for the Ferrari drivers. Now Super Pig falls down.
That gives Sinister
P4.
Owl.
Sinister Owl going up the inside of Shawsome. And not quite close enough to get the move done. But this is a very close train here for the top spot. Shawsome, the next car on Sinister's hit list here. Sinister will be looking to get by that racing point as soon as possible to get back towards his rival, but he goes a little bit wide there on the apex. This will allow Snipper alongside, but he'll tuck back in behind his teammate. Sinister lost a bunch of time there, and he's outside of the DRS zone. This is a huge moment here. If Sinister can get back into DRS on Shawsome ahead. Going to jump up to this battle for the lead. Shawsome within 4/10 of Greco here, coming up towards 13, but quite close enough to get it done. It looks like he might have a little bit more downforce than Greco, and Greco, very good straight line speed down through these DRS straights. Since they're back in that DRS once again of Shawsome ahead, Greco once again with a not very good exit out of the hairpin. Shawsome a little bit wide coming out of the final corner, and now the DRS train commences with only 3 laps to go in this GP, or 4 laps, whatever. I don't know. My brain is fried.
Incredible.
Now Shawsome looks to the outside of Greco going into turn 3. He is alongside Greco, drives him very deep, and once again pushes him wide. And now Sinister Owl is in P2. Sinister Owl has jumped up into P2, and now he's right on the back of Greco. Snipper Pig gets by Shawsome as well. So now Sinister Owl is right there on the back of Greco. Snipper Pig right on the back of Sinister Owl. He will be willing his teammate to get up there to that Mercedes as soon as possible. But Snipper very fast, and Snipper looks to the inside, but not quite close enough for this chicane. Shawsome with a big lockup there going into the turns 8 and 9 chicane, as now they come around the banana going into turns 9 and 10 chicane.
The Ferraris need to remember. The Ferraris need to remember they cannot go on the outside of Greco into turn 1. He's pushed them wide multiple times.
Yeah, if they're going to go for the overtake, they have to go to the inside. Sinister Owl did not have DRS this time around. That is huge. That is huge. Sinister Owl needs to put in the best final sector of his life here to get back into this DRS range. He might just be Shawsome with a little bit of a mistake. He will drop out of DRS from Snipper Pig. So this will now be a 3-horse race for the time being, with only 3 laps left here in this GP. I know it's 3 laps now. Sinister Owl does not have DRS on Greco. He was not within a second in time at the detection point. So Snipper will be closing quite dramatically here, but Sinister is now within DRS of Greco, and he will be closing very fast. And Shawsome catching right back up. He'll be in DRS very soon.
Sorry to everybody if we aren't covering much more in this race. The real battle is happening up at the front, so
if you guys care for the battle between the McLarens for P10, congratulations. I care more about the battle for P1 right now. I'm sorry. As now, Sinister Owl 3.5 tenths behind Greco. Snipper Pig half a second behind Sinister Owl. They will all be coming together so fast here, and Sinister will be really looking to make a move here. He gets a very good run through turn 13. Now they go through turn 14. There's a lapped car ahead of them. The Red Bull of Get That Money and Run is right ahead of these drivers. Hopefully he gets right out of the way of all of them whenever they catch up. Sinister right on the back of Greco. So Greco goes defensive. Sinister Owl goes to the outside. Don't do it, Sinister. Do not do it. Sinister tries to go around the outside, but he does a smart thing. He goes for the cutback.
It's a fake out.
He doesn't go for it. Sinister Owl is right on the back of Greco, only 1.5 tenths behind. Greco goes all the way to the inside, but I believe, and Snipper misses his braking point slightly, has to go off of the track into the grass. Hopefully Get That Money and Run gets out of the way of these drivers ASAP. No! Both Ferraris caught up with the Red Bull there, and Sinister Owl is beyond frustrated. No.
Never go to the apex of the corner when letting people by.
Oh, no. Now Greco with a 2-second gap ahead of Shawsome in P2. This race is over, bar any sort of extraordinary mistake. Pecan has pit for the softs to go for the fastest lap of the GP and the extra point. That just killed the end of this race. This was going to be such a good finish. It's gone.
I feel so
Restart.
terrible for Sinister Owl.
Sinister. Oh. Alright, Sinister. Keep it within the lines. Don't make any mistakes. Just bring it home in P5. Thankfully, Apex is watching this live. So he's seeing everything that we're seeing. The other steward, the head steward, is now we are on the final lap. Greco going through turn 3 now, or turn 4, now to turn 5. Shawsome 2 seconds behind Sniffer Pig, 2 seconds behind them. Racer X around 9 seconds behind Sniffer Pig, and Sinister Owl 5 seconds off of Racer X with wing damage. He doesn't have to worry about losing any more positions. Pecan is 20 seconds back.
Such a heartbreaking end to that race.
My heart just sank to my feet for Sinister. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow.
It's not a secret that Sinister Owl is the favorite for any win in this league, and to have it taken away like that is...
Well, I'm sorry if I don't sound super enthusiastic here, but Greco comes around the final corner to win. Don't weave. To win the Australian GPs. Shawsome comes home in P2, 4 racing points. Sniffer Pig rounds out the podium in P3. Racer X coming around the final corner, come home in P4, and Sinister Owl, the heartbreak of the day, comes around the final corner, will finish in P5. I'm so sad.
I
Pecan
completely agree.
in P6, trying to go for this fastest lap. Let's see if he can get the fastest lap here. It looks like he might. He does, so he gets the extra point. Dilsack and Drew Yu battling for P8 here.
I completely agree, Chris.
Dilsack makes the move on Drew Yu going into turn 13. It looks like Dilsack might just rack up those 4 points, and Drew Yu relegated to 2. Glen Coco comes across the line to get P7. Dilsack for the last lap pass gets P8. Drew Yu in P9. Honos comes across the line in P10. The last points being position. Real Space Hero in P11. And Bossman, the final car to not finish the race, is off track. He will slowly make his way to finish P12. What a way to absolutely destroy what could have been the best race of the season here in the first round.
Completely agree.
That was, honestly, if we wouldn't have had the ending ripped from us, that probably would have been better than all of the races from last season. Bokanos takes a very controversial win here in Australia. Shawsome comes home in P2, very opportunistic from him to get those points, and the only Ferrari on the podium is Sniffer Pig in P3. Very familiar face to that podium. Rounding out the points will be Racer X in P4, Sinister Owl in P5, Pecan in P6, Glen Coco, a very quiet P7 from him. Dilsack and Drew Yu, great drives from them from P15 and 16 on the grid respectively. Honos with a horrendous race here comes home in P10 to get 1 point. Real Space Hero in P11, Bossman in P12, Impulse and Get That Money and Run, the final 2 finishers. And Dollar Hide, Zeus, Kill the Birdman, and the Stig did not finish this race. Thank you all for tuning in. It was an amazing race until the very end there. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm at a loss for words. This has been round 1 of season 2 of the Australian GP here in the UDL F1 League. My name has been Mr. Damage.
I am Jonathan, and good night, everyone.